Grace Adeniyi had mastered the art of being invisible. At 22, while her classmates jumped from one situationship to another, Grace preferred the quiet corners of the library, the glow of her laptop, and the peaceful certainty that no one expected anything complicated from her. Her friends joked about her innocence, calling her the only virgin left in the department, but Grace always laughed it off. It wasn't shame, just the truth. She had never met anyone who made her want more. Her life was safe, predictable, quiet. That was before the day Lila dragged her home after class. "Come on, Grace," Lila insisted, looping her arm through hers. "You'll tutor me for the test and I'll reward you with jollof and suya. Deal?" Grace smiled. Food is always a deal. Lila's house sat in one of those upscale estates with tall gates and silent guards. Grace had visited many times, but something felt different today. The air buzzed with tension as they walked inside. They spread books on the dining table. Grace was opening her notes when the front door clicked. Lila froze. "Oh no, he's back early." "Who?" Grace asked, but the answer walked in before Lila could speak. Damian Moretti. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Dark hair slightly tousled like he'd run a hand through it too many times. Sharp amber eyes that scanned the room with a predatory stillness. Grace had only seen him once months ago, and even then she felt something tighten deep in her chest, an awareness she didn't understand. He stopped when his gaze landed on her. "Grace," he said, as though trying her name on his tongue. Her pulse jumped. She didn't remember telling him her name. Lila stepped in quickly. "We're studying. Don't scare her." Damian ignored his sister and walked closer, slow and controlled. Grace wanted to look away, but couldn't. There was something dangerous about him. Not loud danger. Quiet danger. The kind that sinks into the bones. "You don't have to be afraid of me," he said softly. She wasn't afraid. That was the problem. Damian's presence filled the room in a way that made Grace forget how to breathe. He didn't move closer, but she felt him everywhere, like gravity had shifted and chosen him as its center. Lila cleared her throat loudly. "Damian, don't hover. You're making her uncomfortable." Was he? Grace wasn't sure. Her discomfort felt too much like curiosity, and something warmer. Damian finally stepped back, leaning against the wall with the kind of effortless authority that made it impossible not to notice him. His eyes stayed on Grace, studying her as if trying to figure out a secret she didn't know she had. "I didn't know you were coming home," Lila said sharply. "I own the house," he replied calmly. Grace nearly choked on air. Lila rolled her eyes. "You know what I mean." Damian's attention flickered to the open textbooks. "Studying? Or gossiping like you usually do?" "Studying," Grace answered quietly. His head turned toward her again, slow, deliberate, intense. "Good." The single word made her stomach flutter. Lila dragged Grace back into focus. "Ignore him. He's like a stray cat who thinks he's a guard dog." Damian smirked, a dangerous curve of his lips. "If I were a guard dog, I'd bite." Grace's cheeks warmed instantly, and Damian noticed. His gaze dropped, tracing her reaction with quiet fascination. She looked away, pretending to focus on the notes. He pushed off the wall. "I'll be upstairs. Call me if you need anything." "Grace." Her name again. Oh, smooth. Almost possessive. When he disappeared up the stairs, Grace released a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Lila slumped into her chair. "Please don't look at him like that." "Like what?" Grace whispered. "Like you're 2 seconds from developing a crush on my brother. Trust me, that man is not crush material." Grace tried to laugh it off, but her chest tightened. She didn't understand what she felt, only that she had never reacted to anyone the way she reacted to him. Outside, a black SUV rolled to a stop near the gate. Men in suits stepped out, speaking into radios. Grace noticed the tension in their movements. "Do they work for your dad?" she asked. Lila looked up, and her expression changed. "That's not my dad's security." Lila rushed to the window, peeking through the blinds. "This is bad, they're not supposed to be here." Grace joined her, heart thudding. The men outside weren't talking casually, they were scanning the house, checking corners like they expected trouble. Before she could process it, Damian appeared again, descending the stairs with silent, controlled steps. His expression was different now, hard, sharp, dangerous. "Go to my room," he ordered Lila. "Stay there." Lila didn't argue. That alone terrified Grace. Damian's gaze shifted to her. "Grace." Her breath caught. "You stay with her. Don't leave that room no matter what you hear." Something cold slid down her spine. "Damian, what's happening?" His jaw flexed. "Nothing you need to fear. I'll handle it." Then his voice softened just for her. I'm not letting anything touch you. Trust me. Before she could respond, he turned and walked toward the front door, pulling out his phone. His tone was low, lethal. They're early. Keep the perimeter tight. No one steps inside. The door shut behind him. Grace's legs wobbled. Lila grabbed her hand and pulled her upstairs. Come on, don't ask questions yet. They reached Damian's room, large, cold, immaculate. Grace sat on the edge of the bed, trying to steady her racing heart. She could still feel Damian's voice on her skin. Lila, she whispered, who are those men? Lila hesitated, biting her lip. Damian's job attracts the wrong kind of people. That's not an answer. Lila exhaled. Grace, people owe Damian things. And people fear him. A lot. Grace blinked. Fear him? He's not a normal big brother, Lila said quietly. You've heard rumors about the Moretti family, right? Some of them are true. Grace felt the world tilt slightly. Outside voices rose, sharp, commanding, tense. Grace moved to stand, but Lila held her back. Don't. Damian will kill us if we leave this room. The next 3 minutes felt like hours. Suddenly the house fell silent. Then footsteps. Firm. Familiar. The door opened and Damian stepped inside. He wasn't bleeding, but his knuckles were red. His eyes locked on Grace first. It's done, he said. You're safe. The way he said you made her chest tighten. This wasn't normal concern. It was something else. Something dangerous. Something magnetic. Damian shut the bedroom door behind him, and the soft click made Grace's pulse jump. He wasn't angry, not exactly, but something stormed behind his eyes. Power. Restraint. A kind of intensity she had never seen directed at her before. Lila rushed forward. What happened? Damian ignored his sister and walked straight to Grace. Are you hurt? He asked. His voice was low but not cold, it vibrated with worry. Real worry. Grace shook her head, unable to speak. Damian exhaled slowly as if he'd been holding his breath since he left them. Only then did he answer Lila. They were scouting the property. Someone wanted to know if I was home. Grace frowned. Why would anyone care about that? Damian's gaze drifted to her again, softer this time but guarded. Because I'm involved in business that attracts attention. And enemies. Lila threw her hands up. Damian, just say it. Grace is not stupid. He hesitated, then said quietly, my family runs the Moretti syndicate. Grace's breath hitched. She had heard the name whispered around campus, always in tones that mixed fear and fascination. But she never connected it to the man standing in front of her now, the same man who spoke to her gently, who seemed strangely protective of her. You're Mafia? She whispered. Damian's jaw tightened. If that word scares you, tell me now. I won't blame you. But fear wasn't what Grace felt. She felt heat. A pull. A terrifying, magnetic curiosity. No, she said softly. I'm not scared. Just overwhelmed. Damian stepped closer, slow and deliberate, giving her every chance to move away. She didn't. He lifted a hand and brushed a stray curl from her cheek. His fingers barely touched her skin, yet her entire body reacted, warmth blooming, breath unsteady. You should be afraid of me, he murmured. Grace stared up at him, heart racing. If you wanted to hurt me, you wouldn't try so hard to protect me. Something flickered in his eyes, something raw, conflicted, almost vulnerable. Lila groaned. Okay, great, I'm officially invisible. Damian didn't look away from Grace. I won't let anyone touch you, Grace. Not in my house. Not anywhere. Grace swallowed. Because somehow, despite everything she just learned, she believed him. Damian insisted on driving Grace home. Lila protested, of course. She's fine. I can take her. But Damian shut her down with one sharp look. Grace didn't argue. Some part of her wanted to understand this strange connection between them, even if it terrified her. The ride was quiet at first. Damian drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting casually near the gearshift, relaxed but alert. Streetlights brushed over his face, sharpening the angles of his jaw, his steady eyes. Grace finally spoke. Does danger follow you often? He didn't answer immediately. It follows my family. And sometimes it tries to reach people close to me. People close to you? She echoed. He glanced at her. You. Her breath caught. They barely knew each other, yet he said it like a fact, not an exaggeration. Grace looked out the window, trying to calm the flutter in her chest. Why me? She whispered. Damian exhaled slowly. I notice everything, Grace. People lie. Pretend. Want things. But you're quiet. You're real. And you don't look at me the way everyone else does. How does everyone else look at you? Like a threat, he said simply. Or like a trophy? Grace swallowed hard. I don't see you like that. I know. He pulled up in front of her apartment building, but neither of them moved. The air felt heavier, warmer. Grace's heart beat so loudly she was sure he could hear it. Damian turned toward her fully. Today shouldn't have touched you. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. You can't control everything, she said softly. A faint, troubled smile pulled at his lips. I've been trying to for years. Grace's fingers tightened around her bag. Damian, I don't understand why you care. He leaned slightly closer, not enough to touch her but enough to make her feel him. His voice dropped to something almost intimate. Because from the moment I saw you, I wanted to protect you. Even from myself. Her breath trembled. He noticed, and froze as if fighting himself. I won't rush you, Grace. Or take more than you want to give. The sincerity in his voice warmed her more than it should have. Good night, Grace. She stepped out of the car, but kept thinking about him long after he was gone. Grace tried to go back to her normal routine the next day, class, library, quiet conversations, nothing dramatic. But normal didn't fit anymore. Not after yesterday. Not after Damian. She kept replaying his voice, the way he looked at her like she was something rare. She shouldn't have felt so warm remembering it. She barely knew him, yet she felt known by him. By late afternoon she walked toward the campus gates, headphones in, lost in thought, until she saw it. A black motorcycle. Parked exactly where she usually crossed. The man leaning against it wasn't in campus clothes. He wore a black jacket, boots, and a helmet he hadn't bothered to take off. He wasn't looking at her, but she felt his attention like a wire pulled tight. Her steps slowed. Then he pushed off the bike and started walking toward her. Grace froze. Hey, he called out, voice muffled by the helmet. You, Grace. Her blood turned cold. She shook her head quickly and stepped back, but he matched her pace. Relax. I just want to talk. You were at the Moretti house yesterday, yeah? Her heart slammed painfully. Damian. This was about Damian. Look, sweetheart, the man continued. My boss wants to know who you are. That's all. You help and we're good. Grace turned sharply and began walking fast. Not running but close. The man cursed and grabbed her wrist. Before she could scream, a black car screeched to a stop. 2 doors flew open. Damian's men. The biker released her instantly, backing up with hands raised. Easy, easy. Just asking questions. No harm done. One of Damian's men stepped forward. Walk away. The biker hesitated, then smirked under the helmet. Tell your boss he's slipping. Letting civilians get mixed up, bad look. He revved his motorcycle and disappeared into traffic. Grace stood shaking. The taller guard approached her gently. Miss Grace, Damian sent us. He said not to leave you alone today. How did he know? He always knows. Her stomach twisted. But then Damian's car pulled up. Him in the driver's seat, eyes blazing when he saw her and the faint red mark on her wrist. He was out of the car in seconds, jaw clenched, fury radiating off him. Grace, he said, voice rough. Get in the car. This time she didn't argue. Damian shut the car door the moment Grace sat down, gripping the roof as if trying to hold himself together. His rage wasn't loud, it was the quiet, lethal kind that made the air tremble. He walked around and slid into the driver's seat, breathing hard. Let me see your wrist, he said. Grace hesitated, then extended her hand. The red mark wasn't deep, but Damian's jaw tightened as though it were a wound. He touched you, he whispered, more to himself than to her. He put his hands on you. Damian. I'm fine, she said softly. No, you're not. His voice cracked with intensity. And this is my fault. Grace had never seen him like this, uncontrolled, shaken, almost desperate. The danger surrounding him didn't frighten her as much as the fear for her in his eyes. Who was he, she asked. A scout, Damian said bitterly. Someone sent to test boundaries. Your boundaries? His head turned slowly toward her. No, Grace. Yours. The car felt too small, too warm, too charged. Grace swallowed, trying to steady her voice. So what happens now? Damian exhaled, forcing himself to regain control. I'm taking you somewhere safe until I figure out who sent him. Where? My penthouse. Grace blinked. Is that necessary? Yes, Damian said, the word low, final, absolute. I won't risk something happening to you. Not again. She should have been scared. But instead, an unexpected calm settled over her. Because even in all this chaos, being near Damian felt like the safest place in the world. The drive was silent but not empty. Damian's hand occasionally tightened around the steering wheel, as if fighting the urge to reach for her instead. The penthouse was on the top floor of a high-rise overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalistic decor. Dangerous elegance. When he closed the door behind them, the silence thickened. "Grace," he said, voice lower than before. "I need you to listen to me." She turned to him. "I'll keep you here as long as I have to. Not because you're weak," he stepped closer, "but because losing you is something I cannot afford." Her chest tightened. "Damian, you're scaring me." He looked pained. "I know, and I'm sorry. But I'd rather scare you than bury you." Grace's breath trembled. Because beneath the danger, she heard something else. Something like love trying to take shape. Grace stood in the center of Damian's penthouse, feeling impossibly small against the vast city lights stretching beyond the windows. She had never been anywhere so beautiful, or so dangerous. Damian kept his distance at first, pacing near the kitchen counter like a caged storm. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled up, veins visible along his forearms. He looked shaken, by fear, by anger, by something deeper. "Grace," he finally said, voice low, "I need you to understand something." She turned to him. "I'm listening." He swallowed hard, eyes locked on her. "I didn't bring you here because you're helpless. I brought you because the thought of something happening to you, something I couldn't stop, makes me lose my mind." Her heart thudded painfully. "Damian?" He stepped toward her slowly, giving her space to step back if she wanted. She didn't move. "I'm bad at this," he murmured. "Feelings. Safety. Normal life. But the way I think about you," his voice cracked. "It's not harmless." "But it's not hurting me," she whispered. Damian stopped in front of her, close enough that she could feel his warmth but not touching. He looked tortured, like he was fighting a war inside himself. "You shouldn't want someone like me," he said. "I do terrible things. I live in a world that destroys softness." "You haven't destroyed mine," she said softly. His breath hitched. "No. You make me want to protect it." Silence fell between them, thick and trembling. Grace's fingers brushed his, barely a touch but enough. Damian froze. "Grace," he warned, voice rough, "if you touch me like that again, I won't have the strength to pretend I don't want you." Her cheeks warmed. Her pulse hammered. But for the first time she wasn't scared of what she felt. "Then don't pretend," she whispered. Something broke inside him, something fierce and restrained all at once. He reached out slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When she didn't, his hand slid to her waist, holding her gently, reverently. "You don't know what you're doing to me," he breathed against her forehead. "I think I do," she said softly. And it was true. That night, Grace didn't give him her body. She gave him something far more powerful. Her trust. And for Damian Moretti, untouchable, feared, unbroken, that was the first thing he had ever been afraid of losing. Grace woke to the sound of Damian's voice, sharp, cold, lethal. He was on the phone, standing near the window, back tense, shoulders rigid. "No. I don't care who he works for," he hissed. He touched her. "That means they crossed a line." Grace's heart clenched. He was talking about her. Damian rarely raised his voice. This wasn't rage, it was fear disguised as fury. He turned and saw her awake. Instantly his tone softened. "I'll call you back." He hung up and stepped toward her. "Did I wake you?" "No," she said. "Is something wrong?" For a moment he didn't answer. Then he did. "Yes." He sat beside her on the couch, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly, like he couldn't trust himself to touch her. "Grace, they took something from me last night." Her throat tightened. "What?" "Information." His jaw flexed. "And they used it to take something else." Grace felt cold. "What did they take?" Damian lifted his eyes, and for the first time she saw genuine fear in them. "You." Before she could react, the penthouse lights cut out. A sharp click echoed by the elevator. Then shouts. Damian moved instantly, pulling her to her feet. "Stay behind me." Glass shattered downstairs. Boots stomped across the marble floor. Grace's pulse skyrocketed. "Damian." He cupped her cheeks, looking at her like it might be the last time. "I will get you out of here. I promise you that." The door burst open. Masked men flooded the hallway. Damian shoved Grace behind him, but she was grabbed from the side. A hand clamped over her mouth. A cloth pressed to her nose. Damian roared, "Grace!" and lunged forward, taking down two men in seconds. But there were too many. The one holding Grace dragged her back toward the elevator. Her vision blurred. Damian's voice sounded distant. "Don't touch her. She's mine, don't touch her." She reached for him, fingertips brushing his. Darkness swallowed everything. Her last thought wasn't fear. It was his voice breaking for her. Damian had always been dangerous. But now, he would be unstoppable. Grace woke to darkness. Cold air. Metal walls. The faint hum of a generator. Her wrists were tied, but not painfully. It felt rushed, sloppy. Whoever had taken her didn't expect Damian to come quickly. They were wrong. Footsteps echoed down a corridor. Grace braced herself, but it wasn't a thug. It was the biker from before. He lifted his helmet, revealing sharp dark eyes and an amused smirk. "Relax. You're not here to die. You're leverage." Grace swallowed hard. Leverage for what? For the Moretti Empire. Damian's been expanding. Some people don't like that. He leaned closer. "But you made him sloppy." Her heart raced. "He doesn't care about me that much." The biker laughed. "Sweetheart, he threatened to burn down half the city just to get a location." Before she could reply, boom. The entire building shook. The biker's smirk vanished. "He's here." Another explosion. Screams. A door blown off its hinges. Grace's pulse hammered, but not from fear. From hope. The biker cursed. "Damn psycho." The lights went out. Another boom, closer. Boots on concrete. Shouts cut short. Then, "Grace." Her heart leapt. "Damian. I'm here." The door was kicked open. Smoke curled into the room. Damian stepped through it like a nightmare made of steel and fury. His shirt was torn, his knuckles bleeding, eyes wild. The biker lunged at him. Damian didn't hesitate. One punch. One twist. One drop to the floor. Silence. Then Damian rushed to Grace, hands shaking as he cupped her face. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "Grace, talk to me." She shook her head, tears slipping out. "I'm okay. I knew you'd come." Damian exhaled shakily, forehead pressing to hers. "I would have died before letting them take you." She leaned into him. "Damian?" He cut her free, pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was something holy. "I love you," he whispered, raw, unpolished, trembling. "I tried not to. God knows I tried. But losing you, I can't survive that." Grace's breath caught. "I love you too." His grip tightened as if anchoring himself to her. "I'll protect you. With everything I am. Even if it destroys me." Grace shook her head gently. "You don't have to destroy yourself." She touched his face, softening him with one look. "Just stay." And for the first time in Damian Moretti's life, he chose love over fear.